Hi, welcome to this Kickstarter preview video for Magna Roma. Besides a wonderful cover, which I really like, the game offers a very interesting, thinky, but easy to learn and grasp game about tile placement and developing a city in the Roman ages. So the Roman emperor has awarded some of the architects of the Roman Empire to build the next big city of the Roman Empire. And you'll have to win the game by making the most glamorous, the most efficient and well-organized city in a 5x5 grid, essentially by starting from your town hall and expanding with 24 more tiles. Each round you just add a tile. But the catch here is you have to, even though you can place every tile you get whatever you want, you don't have to match specific things, and there is flexibility and freedom in terms of that. But you need to think where you put what, because when you combine the different symbols that are usually around the edge of a tile, they award different resources. So you can gain victory points, military strength, population, etc., favor of the gods and so on. And in order to efficiently organize your neighborhood, your city, you need to match your icons, so you gain the resources in order to do something on the next step. The good catch about the game is that when you combine the combo of the icons, when you bring them together with having the same color of buildings, same type of building, for example, the red buildings are administrative buildings. So if you put two red buildings and they make a symbol by attaching two symbols next to each other, then you gain more of that resource that they award you. So that's very, very cleverly designed, because this is the income, the resource income of your game, and by just placing a tile, you're gaining resources. Now, that's not only that, you need to think about gaining other things as well, like improving your neighborhood by getting more stars, gaining more military strength so that you can go and conquer by placing military on different, let's say, regions that you want to conquer and award you victory points. And that's important because each of those provinces, if you have a conquer marker on them, it will give you that amount of victory points for every couple of specific icons that you gain from the actual tiles. So what I'm trying to say is the tiles serve more than one purpose, but they do it in a way that is not complex or overwhelming or difficult to follow or think. Everything runs like a dream. It's very, very simply designed and smoothly designed so that it makes sense what you want to pick, but you have to really crunch your head and think carefully, is this the best option? Because maybe I can gain a bit more by orientating the tile like that, or matching this symbol with that symbol, or matching this color with that color, and gaining this and that and that and that. It makes more sense when you see how the game plays, so I'd like to invite you to join me on the table to show you how the game plays. And then, as always, I'll come back at the end of this video to give you my final opinion. And spoiler alert, I'm really recommending this game because it plays fast, has simple rules, and I think even though it plays differently, if you like games like Seven Wonders or Minerva or other tile placing games which offer layers and layers of strategy and thinking without making it complex, then you're going to love Magna Roma. I really, really enjoyed this. Tile placement is one of my favorite mechanisms. I think it's one of the favorite mechanisms for most of the gamers out there, at least most. But here it's done in a very, very clever way, which gives you more options and more flexibility and more things to think about with each and every placement. The game plays fast, very simple and rules, very simple to teach, but also has an extremely well done flow. I really, really think it's a game that offers lots on the table. So join me, let me show you how the game plays, and we'll come back with my final opinion about my experience so far from Magna Roma. In Magna Roma, you're summoned by the Roman Emperor to hear about the great plans for expansion. The Emperor wants you to found the next great Roman city that will bring glory and prosperity to the Roman Empire. Carefully plan your new city and efficiently connect neighborhoods by combining symbols to gain valuable resources. Spend coins and employ population to build magnificent monuments. Use legions to conquer distant lands for the Emperor and bring wealth back to the Empire. Produce valuable luxuries to use for scoring points and gain the favor of the gods, and use it to empower your city. The player with the most victory points at the end of the game is the winner. Glory is within your grasp. At the core of this great system of Magna Roma sit the neighborhood tiles. These tiles represent the city blocks that you will use to expand your city and give you resources depending on the combinations of symbols you connect with the adjacent tiles. By carefully planning how to place them in your future turns, you will maximize the efficiency of gaining resources that will further lead to more victory points and wealth for your empire. You can see in front of you we have three types of basic categories for the buildings, the tiles. These are the administrative, the red ones, the ones with their red roofs. Then we have the cultural, which are the neighborhood tiles with the purple roofs. And last but not least we have the residential, the neighborhood tiles with the brown roofs. Of course we have the town center tiles, one for each player depending on their color, and it sits at the center of their 5x5 grid, usually. A quick word about combining symbols. When you place a neighborhood tile in your city, you must place it next to another one. If the placement results in a combined symbol, you gain that symbol's benefit. If the tiles you combined are of a different color, you gain the lesser benefit, the smaller number. And if the tiles you combined are of the same color, you gain the bigger benefit, that is the bigger number. Let's see a couple of examples. This player on the top, by combining those two tiles, basically he placed the tile and it resulted in a military symbol. This is the military symbol shown between those two connected tiles. But you can see it also over here, which is the icon for the military connection. Because the tiles are of different color, one is purple and one is red, that means that the player will gain the smaller benefit, in this case advance one step on the military board. The player on the bottom, by connecting those two tiles, he placed a tile and resulted in a God's favor symbol, which is this connection over here. And as you can see, it's also on the player aid here where we have the God's favor type of connection. Because the tiles are of the same color, both of them are brown, while before they were not of the same color, here in the second case, the second example, it advances 2 steps on the favor of the God's board instead of 1. In any case, the lesser and the bigger benefit are all described next to the symbol iconography on the player's aid for ease of use. These are the player's neighborhood boards. Each player gets one of those. Additionally, when you place a neighborhood tile in your city, depending on how many stars were on that tile, adjust the corresponding color track on the board by that many steps. And if you reach a space with a resource symbol in it, immediately gain that resource. For example, here by placing this neighborhood tile in our city, then we'll gain 2 stars because it depicts 2 stars on it. What we'll have to do is go on the respective type of building, the red ones, and advance 1, 2. You see we have one marker for each of the type of buildings, for the purple and the brown ones. And every time your marker reaches one of those rewards on both tracks, adjacent tracks, you gain the benefit. The symbols are very simple. Let me explain them. This means that you advance 1 space on the military track. This means that you gain 1 coin. This means that you gain 1 population, and this one means that you advance 1 space on the market track. For those single square ones, once you get there, you just get the reward. For the larger ones, both of your score tracks needs to be there or beyond in order to receive that benefit. So if it goes like that, you wouldn't be able to gain advancement on the market track. It needs to be at least here or one of them bypassing. The same goes for the bottom reward. So the ones that they are small, you just get them by reaching the single track by moving your score track, your marker that is. The larger ones, you need to have both of them at that level or beyond. Next is the market board. We'll go over there, but just before going to the market board, you need to know that you will advance on the market board by combining the luxury symbols on the neighborhood tiles and or buying bonus resource. At the end of the game, this track will give you victory points on the lowest marker on your neighborhood track. We'll see this later on, but for the moment check these 2 examples like before. We have 2 cases, the top case where the player has added those 2 tiles, one next to the other, so they make one luxury symbol. using two different color tiles. Therefore, they advance one space if they connected a luxury symbol of tiles with different color. In the lower case, you advance two spaces if you connected a luxury symbol of tiles with the same color, either purple, red or brown. This is the market board. Additionally, when you move on this track, you can trade resources depending on the space you ended. For example, on this case, let's say that this red marker ends over there by moving due to acquiring luxury symbols. What happens is the player there can expend one military in order to gain 2 coins. If they moved 2 spaces because they connected to a luxury tile, a luxury connection with 2 tiles of the same color, then they would end there and they could expend 1 military and 2 coin in order to gain 4 victory points. There is also another track at the bottom that will come back at the end to see how you gain victory points regarding this symbol. Next we have the military board. You will advance on the military board by combining the military symbol on neighborhood tiles and by gaining a bonus resource. During the game you can send your armies to conquer provinces by spending the amount of military required by the respective slot when you want to take on province cards. We'll come back to this later on, but let's see an example of gaining military resources. In the top example, you advance one space if you connected the military symbol of tiles with different color. This is the military symbol. Or in the bottom example, you advance 2 spaces because you connected the military symbol of the same color, either again purple, red or brown. These are province cards that they go at the bottom of the military board. You will score points and immediately gain resources according to the slot you conquered on the province card, and we'll explain this later on. But just simplistically put, once you have military, then you can expend it to place one of your markers in one of those province cards and gain victory points and resources as well, respectively. But you can only have one marker on each of these province cards that they also award you victory points at the end, depending on some conditions listed at the bottom. We will explain this later on. Next is the Favor of the Gods board, which is this one over here. You will advance on the Favor of the Gods board by combining the God's Favor symbol on neighborhood tiles. In this case, for example, here we see the Favor of the Gods symbol, which is again also depicted on the player aid, so that you can remember always. So you can see that by combining and creating this Favor of the God symbol with these 2 tiles, you advance 1 space if you connected the military symbol of tiles of a Favor of the God symbol of tiles with different color. Here we created the Favor of the God symbol with 1 purple and 1 red, therefore I would advance once, okay, and here I would gain 1 favor token. We'll see the use of those. Or in the lower case, again, I created 1 Favor of the God symbol. This is a symbol over here, and I will advance 2 spaces because I connected the Favor of the God symbol with 2 tiles of the same color, again 2 red, 2 purple or 2 brown, and therefore I would advance 1, 2 respectively, following this type of path towards the upper part of the Favor of the Gods board. When you enter or pass a space that contains a Favor of the Gods token, like this one, that one, etc., essentially what you do is you gain that token. During the game you can use that token to bless a neighborhood tile, and at the end of the game, depending on the number of these tokens at your position on the track, you will score additional victory points, as we will explain later on, but as they are indicated on the board itself. Next we have the scoreboard. As you can see, this is the place where we mark our victory points. You will advance on the scoreboard within the game by combining the prestige symbol on the neighborhood tiles and by gaining points from victory point tokens, like for example when you get these tokens from the military board. We'll explain this later on. In the top example over here, you can see that we have combined 2 tiles, 2 neighborhood tiles of different color, and yielding 1 victory point token. Therefore we'll advance 1 space on the victory point track. If we have combined 2 neighborhood tiles of the same color yielding the victory point symbol, then we would advance 3 spaces on the victory point track. So with different colors we advance only 1 victory point, with the same color we advance 3 victory points, and that's a nice way to gain extra victory points throughout the game. We also have the monuments on the score track board. These tiles represent grandiose structures that you will construct in your city. To construct a monument, you must pay the corresponding coin cost as indicated at the bottom of the slot for the respective monument, and you will be able to take it and place it in your city. For the monument to score points at the end of the game, you must have the required population employment inside. For example, these are the conditions and these are the victory points that they award. But you need to have this population so that it gives you these victory points. You have the end game scoring and the population requirement for the end game bonus to work. So these are the monuments, and I've seen already some rendering pictures from the Kickstarter preview page of Magna Roma, and they have some very nice, beautiful 3D structures. I'm really looking forward to the campaign to see what else is going to be unlocked there. So let's go quickly through the setup. What you do first is you place a score, market, military and fate of the gods board on the side. Military, markets, favor of the gods and victory points board on the side. Each player gets their starting town center tile with their own color. This is the blue player, this is the yellow. You need to have some space around you in order to place additional tiles. Then you get the neighborhood boards as well as the markers for your own color, and place 1 marker on each of the starting spaces on the boards for market, military, score, fate of the boards and the neighborhood. Therefore you get, this is your neighborhood personal scoring board. You need to place 1 of your scoring markers for the stars in each of those type of buildings. You need to place 1 of your victory point score markers over there. You need to place 1 score marker at the 0 point of your military board. The same goes for the market board, and 1 of your markers should be at the bottom of the favor of the gods board. Next, you shuffle the monument tiles with a deck and you place it face down in the appropriate spot on the scoreboard. This is a monument tile deck. Then you draw the top 3 monuments and place them in the slots next to the monument tile deck. These are the starting monuments. 1, 2, 3. Next, you shuffle the province card deck and draw 3 cards. This is the provinces, and here are the 3 cards that I've drawn. Then place each card under each slot on the military board, and these are the provinces you will be playing with until the rest of the game. You can return the next card, the rest of the cards in the box. You place the 2 and 3 victory point tokens on the military board on the respective slots over there. Then you shuffle the market board tokens face down, draw 4. These are the market tiles. You draw 4 of them and put them on the respective slot and return the next to the box, so you also have replayability from that. You shuffle the neighborhood tiles face down and form 2 or 3 tile decks, whatever is more convenient for use, and then draw tiles from the top of those decks until you have drawn 8 tiles and place them in a circle pattern around the decks. This is the draw pile, and here is my circle pattern, of course a little bit squeezed due to the video purposes, so you spread them around your stack of tiles. There are many more tiles that you can see that I haven't used them, just for making the video look a bit sharper, but there are a lot of tiles and you need to have 8 of them around the drawing piles. Next, what you do, you choose the player which will start the selection of the first neighborhood tile, and that player chooses a first tile by placing their disc marker on that tile. Then in counterclockwise order, all players choose their first neighborhood tile by doing the same, placing their selection marker with their color. After this, play begins with the player that last chose the first tile, and turns continue in a clockwise fashion. So let's see the gameplay now. A game of Magna Roma is played in turns until all players have placed exactly 24 neighborhood tiles in their cities, after which the final scoring will be performed. The finished cities must be in a 5x5 grid. The town center tile does not need to end up in the center of the 5x5 grid, but it needs to be within the 5x5 grid. Let's see the turn order. First, you place a neighborhood tile, which is mandatory. On your turn, you must take the neighborhood tile that has your marker token on it and place that tile in your city in any of the 4 possible rotations of your choice. The tile must touch at least one other tile, even a single one does a job. However, it doesn't have to touch in a way that makes a symbol combination specifically. It could be touching with one non-symbol side with another non-symbol side, or with one half symbol with a non-symbol side. In any case, it is preferable that you match symbols so that you gain benefits, but it's not mandatory that you match them. Let's see a very quick example. This is the town center, the starting point of the blue player. Let's say they have already placed this here and that here in the previous turns, so they are like that. Therefore, the blue player has chosen this tile on the previous turn, so now they place it in their city. They decide to also rotate the placement, so they can take it, for example, it could be like that, they take it, they can rotate it however they see fit, and they're trying to match some of, as much as possible, the symbols so that they gain more benefits. In this example, they move the marker that they used on the vacant slot, since they have taken the tile, the neighborhood tile, and they gain the rewards for the matching symbols. This would give them 1 victory point, since they gain the victory point score opportunity, so 1 prestige because they are different colors, and also they match this symbol, which they give them advancement on the military track. They gain 1 army again because they didn't match the colors. If those were of the same color, all 3 of them, they would gain the bigger benefit for the army, that would be 2 armies, and the bigger benefit for the victory points, that would be 3 victory points. In any case, they get the lesser benefit, but in any case, you see here, for example, this doesn't match, but here it makes sense, so it's not mandatory because it doesn't work always to match. But if you match as many symbols as possible, then you gain many more rewards from the different scoreboards. We'll come back to this because this is the essence of the game, but let's say that the player has already chosen, placed the previously chosen tile in their city. Then they can play one optional action. After placing a neighborhood tile in your city and gaining all benefits from it, you may play one and only one of the optional actions. These can either be buy and construct a monument tile, send armies to conquer provinces, or bless a neighborhood tile in your city, respectively. And now we'll see a couple of words for each of those optional actions. Remember, you only do one after your main placement of your tile. So the first optional action is to buy and construct a monument tile. As your optional action on your turn, you can buy one of the monument tiles available at the monument and construct area and place it in your city. In order to do so, you must meet the following conditions. The first condition is that you need to have enough coins in order to pay for the respective cost of the monument. After you pay for the monument, simply draw the top monument tile from the deck to fill the empty slot, since you have already picked one. So for example, let's say that I'm going to pick this one, and then I need to replace with a new one from the monument tile. Now, about placement, how I'm placing this on my city. The second condition, when you buy a monument tile, you must be able to place it in an appropriate location in your city. And monument tiles are always placed on the intersection of 4 neighborhood tiles. So let's see some examples. You cannot construct the Colosseum in this specific slot because it already has one of the monument in one of the other 4 corners. You see here I have already a monument in this section, so I cannot construct the Colosseum over there because it's touching 4 neighborhood tiles that they are already used in one other monument respectively. Also, you cannot construct the Colosseum here or here or here, okay? The reason for that is, of course, because one of the 4 neighborhood tiles is actually your city center. So you need to have neighborhood tiles that they are vacant, but none of them should be your city center. Also, you cannot construct your monument over there. And the reason for that is, of course, you cannot construct the monument there because one of the tiles is missing from the base of the Colosseum. Monuments must be constructed over 4 tiles. But if fountain was not already erected there, of course I would be able to construct my monument over there because it's fulfilling all of the conditions respectively. There are some population requirements for the monument. In order for your monument, in this case the Colosseum, to score victory points at the end of the game, you must employ your population in them. You can do this at any time during your turn, either when you construct your monument or when you gain new population meeples or whenever you decide best. In this case, you need to have 3 population meeples in order to give you the award, which is simply pure 9 victory points at the end of the game. But this can be done at any time throughout the course of the game. The second from the 3 optional things that you can do after your main turn, and remember you can only do one, is to send armies to conquer provinces. As your optional action on your turn, you can send your armies on the military board to place your marker on one of the free province slots. The province slots are indicated here above the province cards respectively. In this case, for example, the yellow player can spend a number of armies in order, the number of armies is depicted on the respective slot, in order to place one of their own markers in one of those provinces. For example, what they can do is they can spend 3 armies by going down on this track, 1, 2, 3, in order to place one marker on the 3 slot army, because they spend 3 armies, and then they capture this slot. Immediately they're going to gain the benefit, 1 coin, and this will award them 2 victory points for every pair of these 2 symbols in the card at the end of the in their city at the end of the game. But more on the scoring later on. The victory point number on the slot shows you how many points you'll gain at the end of the game for each combination of symbols printed on the card's condition. For example, this will give us 2 victory points for every pair of these symbols in our city. And I remind you that the tiles, besides stars and connection symbols, they also have sometimes these symbols that they are linked with the province tiles in order to award victory points. Keep in mind that when you advance your marker on the military board and you're the first to reach these spaces, this one and that one, you can gain immediately the victory points by removing this token and gaining 2 victory points here or 3 victory points here respectively. Keep in mind also that you cannot place a marker on a slot already occupied by another player. So if, for example, this slot was already occupied before, that's done. I cannot place it on top of it because this is already captured by this player. And of course, you cannot place 2 markers on the same card, so you can never do that. You can have the most 1 marker or over each of one of the 3 cards that they're in the game, but you have to make it count so that you match it with the victory points and the rewards that you wish. The third and last option you have is the Bless a Neighborhood tile. As your optional action on your turn, you can play one of your God's Favor tokens. Remember, these are the the Favor of the Gods tokens. You can play one of those tokens on a neighborhood tile in your city in order to bless that tile. So for example, I can do that and place one of my favor tokens over there, or I can bless, for example, this one or that one, etc. By doing this, you will gain the benefits of the symbol combinations of that tile as if though you have just placed the tile there. However, you do not gain the stars from that tile. So for example, here I would gain these matching symbols. So respectively, I would gain, since this is the same color, I would gain 2 military armies for this symbol, and for that symbol I would gain 1 more military army. But I would not gain again the stars, because this I'm only gaining them the first time I'm placing this tile in my neighborhood. Please note that you cannot play Gods of Favors token on a tile that already has a token. The end of turn. After your turn ends, you must choose a new tile from your future turn. So you ensure that on your next turn you'll be using that tile to place it in your city. You can choose a tile that is 2 spaces away from your current position on the tile circle, and you can also jump on other players' markers. And these spaces do not count towards the 2 space range. You cannot choose a tile already containing another player's marker, and after you choose a new tile for your future turn, you draw the top tile and place it face up on the empty slot there should be always 8 tiles at the end of a player's turn. The next player in clockwise order can now take their turn. Very, very simple. Remember, I had started my turn by taking and adding to my city this tile, so I have left my marker on this vacant slot. So after I have performed adding the city and gaining all the benefits and all the symbols and all the resources, what I need to do is I need to finish my turn. So I need to select up to 2 range in either of those directions on this circle in order to secure my next turn's tile. So in this case I can go either take 1, 2 is occupied, so 2 is occupied, so 2 goes over there, or 1 is occupied, 1 here, or 2. So let me put it differently so it doesn't confuse you. Let's say that this goes over there, and for example this was also here. In that case the player could only pick either 1, 2 and stop towards this direction, or either that 1 or 2 here, because it jumps over this token. So let's say he wants to take this one, so he goes here and then he draws 1 more tile, so that there are always 8 tiles face up in the circle when that player finishes his or her turn. The game end is very simple. The game ends when all players have built their 5x5 grid cities, and immediately we proceed to the final scoring. So the final scoring. First we score the market. Each player multiplies their value on the market board with their lowest value neighborhood tile color on this neighborhood board to score victory points for the market. For example, let's say that the blue player has reached all the way here, and therefore he ended up in one of those slots over there. That token is pointing towards the 3 marker, then he or she checks their neighborhood board and they see that the lowest one behind in any of the 3 colors is the brown, which hits number 3. Therefore he will get for the market 3 times 3, 9 victory points respectively for the market. Then we proceed to scoring the favor of the gods. Each player gains victory points for each unplayed god's favor token. That means that tokens that they haven't used for blessing throughout the course of the game, and depending on where their marker is on the favor of the gods board, then they multiply by that. For example, this player has 3 unused favor of the gods tokens, and he has reached, by progressing on the favor of the gods board, this location where each of those is awarding 3 victory points. So 3 times 3, he also gains 9 victory points from the favor of the gods unused tokens at this stage. Then we score the monuments. Simply, each player gains victory points for each of their constructed monuments that they are full with population requirements and their scoring conditions are met. And each monument is of course explained in the rulebook. Here we needed to have 3 population on this monument. We have it, therefore we're gaining another 9 victory points for that. Last but not least, we score the province cards. Each player gains victory points for each taken slot on the province cards, and depending on the conditions of the province card, we gain victory points respectively. The blue player here will gain 2 victory points for every pair of those 2 symbols throughout his 5x5 grid city. Of course, if you have more score opportunities by having also here and here, then you gain respectively additional victory points according to the requirement printed on the bottom of the province card. Again, the province cards are detailed with full explanation in the rulebook. As you can see, the rulebook includes a full detailed explanation for all the monuments and all the province cards, so everything is clearly indicated. For example, this card here, Egypt, says that gain 3, 2 or 1 victory point for each red district in your city. Speaking of districts, this is very simple. I'm just going to show you the example of the rulebook because it's very simple. A district is considered to be when at least 2 city tiles of the same color are connected. So this is one district, this is another district, this is a larger district, but when you have a single one, like here, this is not a district of that color. So After you have collected all your victory points from all these sources, you add this to the already collected victory points throughout the course of the game, and the player with the highest total is the winner in Magna Roma. So there you have it. This is how you play Magna Roma. I have explained all the rules in detail. Keep in mind that, of course, by playing the game, you will discover a lot of strategies and a lot of different approaches to what makes sense, what to pursue, and what to try to gain to press the gas on which pedal in order to gain more victory points. So there you have it. This is how you play Magna Roma. Again, this is prototype material. It looks gorgeous, but still it's a prototype material, and I'm really looking forward for the Kickstarter campaign. I'm going to include the Kickstarter page in the description of this video so that you can go and check it out to see all the nice and cool things that they're going to unlock, together with all the beautiful rendered 3D monuments and all the additional goodies. So there you have it, a great games in the making. Really excited about this. This is Magna Roma. Okay, I'm a big fan of all the titles that Arcona Games have done so far, and one of the main reasons is that they don't have usually more than a couple of pages rules, but yet they offer lots of choices, different play styles, different types of games, and this is no exception to that. It comes in a bigger box, but I think it's just because it has so many more components to especially if they go with all these minis and all these monuments that they have in the Kickstarter preview page. I think it's going to be an excellent production. But I'm just giving you my open, free opinion, my true, honest opinion from my experience from the prototype, which looks gorgeous, by the way, but it didn't have any minis. The game plays like a charm. I really enjoyed the simple tile placement, so I can teach this game to everybody. But I think the players who want to maximize by each single placement the potential victory points down the road, so they're opening, plus what they gain, resources, etc., they're going to love Magna Roma. It looks gorgeous because it's like a Roman city from the top. It gives you a nice perspective. You can follow the connectivity of the symbols, you can follow the icons, the colors, and all the regions and neighborhoods that are designed and performed in your 5x5 grid. But I think the real pros of this game is the simplicity, yet the depth that comes from the choices. As I said, this game reminds me, not in the play style, but in the essence, other games like Concordia, because Concordia is an excellent example with a few rules. They give so much depth and so much fun and potential gameplay and potential ways of playing the game and enjoying it. And this is no exception. With very simple rules, it offers lots of layers of strategy, lots of layers to chase victory points, different paths and different things to put your foot on the gas and follow different things. But it does it in a way that it doesn't throw to you one ton of rules, different conditions, different type of things. So you just read the rulebook once and it makes perfect sense, and then you can start playing right away. So highly recommend it. I'm thinking that it's one of their best designs so far. I really enjoyed all the other games, but I think it's one of the best so far, and I think it's one tile placement game that needs to be on every library, and I'm saying this again, every collection and every library, because it offers so much fun and so nice and ingenious gameplay, I would say. So check it out. They're running the Kickstarter campaign, so follow their Kickstarter campaign with all the stretch goals and what they have to unlock. I'm super excited from the gameplay on its own, but I'm really eager to see what they're going to unlock from stretch goals, from the monuments. They look gorgeous. I mean, all these minis and all the 3D renders only offer more and more reasons for you to enjoy and want to play the game. So, gorgeous game, highly recommended. This is Magna Roma. Many thanks for watching.